A cleaning lady's heartwarming kiss changed everything, as his daughter exposed an amazing plan. Maria wiped her hands on her apron, the scent of lemon cleaner lingering in the air. She stood in the grand hallway of another mansion, each polished surface reflecting her dreams for her daughter, Lily. Every time she plunged her mop into a bucket of soapy water, she imagined Lily stepping onto a stage, lights bright above her, singing her heart out. Maria was determined to give her daughter the future she never had, a future steeped in hope, not despair, but the weight of her struggles pressed down hard. Her fingers ached from scrubbing floors, her back was tight from hauling garbage bags, yet her heart surged with fierce determination. She glanced at her phone, just a picture of Lily, her bright eyes sparkling like diamonds, reminding Maria of what truly mattered. Later, as she scrubbed the kitchen counter, she overheard the owners, a wealthy couple, chortling about the latest scheme to exploit vulnerable families. Words like gullible and uneducated pierced through the air, grating against her soul. It was a jarring realization that the gleaming walls around her concealed a rot that ran deep, hidden behind a veil of wealth. That evening, as they strolled home, Maria found herself recounting the day's shocking events to her friend Marta. But unbeknownst to her, a pair of ears listened intently. Lily, always curious, carefully pieced together the puzzle of her mother's words. An idea started simmering in her mind. What if they could expose the wrongdoings of the very people who prided themselves on their sophistication? "Mom, we should do something about it," Lily exclaimed. Her small fingers clenched in determination, unaware of the potential repercussions cascading toward them. Maria's heart swelled with conflicting emotions. She knew her daughter was brilliant but also understood the precariousness of their situation. Before they continued, "I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The next day weighed heavily on Maria. She felt overwhelmed by the gravity of her knowledge and the hidden threats it posed to her and Lily. But just when hope seemed elusive, Joe, the kind-hearted veteran next door, stood by her with a warm smile. They shared a tender moment, their lips brushing softly, an unexpected spark igniting within Maria. It was a brief kiss, but it whispered promises of unity and understanding. She wasn't alone anymore. With this newfound hope, Maria stirred from the depths of her uncertainty. The scandal had the potential to unveil the truth, but at what cost? Just as she began to contemplate confronting the couple, she caught a glimpse of her neighborhood from a different angle. Friends and neighbors actively banded together, supporting one another in ways Maria had previously overlooked. Each step she took from that point felt laden with determination and expectation. The whispers of betrayal and loyalty filled her mind. She knew she had to find the strength to stand against the affluent, not just for her daughter's sake but for those too frightened to fight back. Would Maria's pursuit of justice forge an unbreakable bond, or would it tear apart the delicate threads of their fragile world? The heart of the city silenced, a single question echoed, waiting for resolution: can true justice prevail in a world where those who have the least often fight the hardest? Maria woke the next morning, the sun streaming through the kitchen window. With a subtle glow that filled her chest with renewed hope, she glanced at Lily, who was still cocooned in her blanket. What a brave little spirit, Maria thought. Over breakfast, the two of them shared a simple meal, laughter mingling with the scent of burnt toast. "Mom, do you think we can really do it?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement and a hint of trepidation. Maria felt a surge of admiration wash over her. That spark in Lily's eyes reminded her of her youth, of dreams painted in vivid colors but often pushed aside. "We can," Maria asserted softly, fighting the nagging doubt in her heart. "Let us just think it through carefully." With breakfast done, Maria grabbed her cleaning supplies for the day. Today, the couple who owned the mansion were throwing a party, their laughter echoing through the halls like a cruel reminder of the differences that divided them. Each swipe of her mop felt like a step toward clarity. She had a plan brewing, but it needed to be foolproof, for Lily's innocent excitement could easily spiral into danger. As Maria worked, she could hear snippets of conversation. The wealthy couple engaged with their guests, lost in their own bubble of privilege. They bragged about recent deals and their latest acquisitions. Such fools, Maria muttered quietly, catching her reflection in a polished surface. She wanted to scream the truth at them, but courage had a way of faltering in the face of power. Lunch arrived, and Lily, often the curious observer, popped her head into the kitchen. "Mom, you should talk to Mr. Joe," she suggested. Her little mind was whirring, connecting dots Maria hadn't even thought about yet. Joe, the veteran neighbor, had a wealth of experience and stories that could match theirs. That evening, Maria approached Joe, who was watering his tiny garden in the fading light. With his dusty cap tipped to shield his eyes, he looked like a picture of wisdom. "Joe, we need your help," Maria said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. She outlined their plan, blending Lily's bright idea with her own resolve. "Are you sure about this?" Joe asked, looking over his shoulder to ensure they wouldn't be overheard. "The last thing we need is to stir up trouble in a place like this." Maria felt a tremor in her heart but pushed through. "If we don't fight for change, what kind of example are we setting for our kids?" As Joe considered her words, Maria sensed a bond beginning to form. Over several hours, they brainstormed, piecing together their ideas like a puzzle. The three of them united: Lily, Maria, and Joe. The more they talked, the more they felt it, a swelling sense of possibility. Yet, as the sun set, shadows grew long across the yard. Maria had a flicker of doubt. They were daring to challenge a system that had long held its power, a system that often crushed the voices of the unheard. "Mom, when do we start?" Lily's eager question echoed through the dusk, laced with unyielding hope. "Soon, my love," Maria replied, her voice steady yet tentative, because deep down, she knew they were on the brink of something much larger than themselves. "But we must be careful. What if they could dismantle the walls built on greed and exploitation?" As they clear-headedly plotted their next move, something ominous thundered in the back of her mind, a fear that they could become targets themselves. Their plan was forming, but so were the stakes. Just how far would they go to seek justice? And with each passing moment, Maria could almost feel the weight of the world pressing down on their desire to bring light to dark corners. What would happen when they finally confronted the truth? The next morning dawned crisp and bright, a stark contrast to the weight pressing down on Maria's heart. The clock ticked steadily, echoing in her mind like a metronome marking the heartbeat of her unfolding plan. As she poured coffee, she watched Lily bounce through the kitchen, overflowing with energy. "Are we starting today?" Lily beamed, her fingers toying with the corner of the tablecloth. Maria leaned down to meet her gaze, her eyes searching for the right words. "We are getting closer, Lily. We need to prepare." After breakfast, Maria gathered her cleaning supplies, the tools that had been her companions in this huge mansion. But today, they felt different. They were more than just tools, they were symbols of her determination. She needed to find Joe. The older man had promised to help with themselves, and she hoped their conversation would unveil a clearer path. The vibrant chatter from the party last night still echoed through the walls as she crossed paths with Mrs. Anderson, the lady of the house. Maria offered a polite nod, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. Her insides roiled with the remnants of Mrs. Anderson's extravagant laugh, a sound that rang hollow against the backdrop of their own struggles. Maria found Joe at his garden, the sunlight casting a warm glow upon his weathered face. "Joe," she began, urgency creeping into her voice. "I know we talked about ideas, but I need your wisdom today. We have to make a stand." The older man nodded, his face lined with the stories of years gone by. "We have to be cautious, Maria. People in power don't like to be challenged." "I know, but we cannot simply accept their rules and pretend we're invisible," she pressed, gripping the railing of his porch. "I want to rally our neighbors. If we're united, they can't ignore us." Joe thought for a moment, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. "You really think you and Lily can stir the hearts of our community?" "I believe we must try," Maria answered, her voice filled with passion. "Lily deserves a better world, one where the laughter of the wealthy doesn't drown out our voices." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, they began sketching out ideas together. Joe mentioned the local community center, a hub of activity where people gathered for everything from book clubs to fundraisers, and Maria's heart quickened at the thought. "That's it. If we host a gathering, we can talk openly about our concerns and invite others to share their stories," she exclaimed. Joe nodded, a semblance of excitement flickering in his eyes. "And I can bring the old band back together. They can perform, draw a crowd. It'll be a good way to get people talking." As they made their plans, Lily dashed in and out of the room, her giggles threading through their serious discussions. The sight of her vibrant spirit rekindled Maria's conviction. They were doing this for her. The future they envisioned hinged on their efforts, but then a creeping doubt danced at the edges of Maria's mind. What if the gathering sparked anger instead of understanding? What if the wealthy couple made an example out of them? "Mom, can I help with the invitations?" Lily chirped, flashing her a bright smile that instantly melted Maria's worries. It struck her then, the truth of what they were doing. It was about hope, about community, and that was something worth fighting for. As they began drafting plans, Maria discovered a line of courage she didn't know she possessed. "Yes, sweetheart, we'll all help. Together, we're stronger." Time slipped away as they prepared, weaving their enthusiasm into every detail. But as the evening drew darker, that sign of their efforts flickered like a candle in the wind. Maria knew they were entering uncharted territory. Were they truly ready to face whatever backlash came their way? With a fire ignited within her, Maria took a deep breath, staring out at the gathering twilight. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to herself, feeling the weight of her ambitions growing heavier by the moment. What would happen when they took their stand, stepping boldly onto that stage? Would it pave the way for change, or would it shatter their fragile hope? The next day arrived with an unease in the air. Maria felt it settle in her bones as she prepared breakfast. Lily was buzzing, chattering on about the invitations, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Can we use stickers, Mom? To decorate them?" she exclaimed, her little hands flapping animatedly. "Of course, sweetheart," Maria replied, but her voice held more uncertainty than she meant to show. They were moving forward, but doubts gnawed at her. Could her dream really take shape? Would anyone even show up? After breakfast, Maria and Lily gathered their craft supplies in the cozy living room. With colorful papers spread out, and glitter and glue at the ready, Maria watched her daughter transform mundane cards into vibrant invitations. Each snip of the scissors trimmed a bit of Maria's worry. She took a moment to savor the sight. Lily was a beacon of hope, a reminder that laughter and joy could exist even in their struggles. As the day wore on, they carefully crafted each invitation, including a note urging their neighbors to come share their voices. Maria's heart raced at the thought of their gathering. But deep inside, shadows of worry loomed larger. She couldn't shake the image of Mrs. Anderson's scornful face, the way the affluent dismissed their concerns as if they were mere whispers in the wind. Later, Maria walked to the community center, her heart racing. Joe had promised to help, and she needed to revisit their plans. The grand building rose before her, a place filled with laughter and chatter, but today it felt daunting. What if this was a mistake? As she entered, Joe was already waiting. He looked up and smiled warmly, sensing her hesitation. "You ready?" he asked, his voice softening the moment. "I'm trying to be," she replied, glancing around the bustling hall where the old band members were setting up for a practice session. Maria took a deep breath and pushed her worries aside. "If we take this step, we can't look back." Joe nodded. "Just think about Lily. This gathering is for her. She nodded with resolve. Right. For Lily. The sound of music filled the space, and she closed her eyes for a moment, letting it wash over her. After some planning, they decided on the details. The evening's theme would center on community resilience, emphasizing the strength they could find in supporting each other. The band would perform, of course, and intersperse the program with stories shared by neighbors. Back at home, Maria smiled at Lily's bubbling enthusiasm as they put together more invitations. "Mom, do you think everyone will come?" Lily asked, her excitement laced with just a hint of doubt. "I think they will, honey," Maria said, her heart swelling with a mix of hope and apprehension. "Each invitation is a piece of what we stand for." The work drew them closer together. But as they sealed the last invitation, Maria's phone buzzed. It was from Joe. "We need to talk. Something has come up." Her heart skipped a beat. Was this about the gathering? Anxiety coiled in her stomach as she read the message again. She needed to know, but the uncertainty filled her with dread. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lily asked, reading her mother's expression. "Nothing, sweetheart." Maria forced a smile. "Just about our plans." That evening, she lay awake thinking about their gathering, replaying every detail in her mind as her heart raced with possibility. Could they really make a difference? When the morning of the gathering arrived, Maria felt that old weight on her heart again. Would it be more than just a moment of courage? Would it open doors or shut them forever? As Lily bounced out the door, clutching handmade invitations, Maria's internal struggle intensified. They were standing on the threshold of change. Would their brave steps lead to hope or heartache? But just before they left, a thought gripped her. Was there something Joe was hiding? What could he possibly need to talk about that felt so urgent? What awaited them as they ventured into this new chapter, a chapter filled with uncertainty and possible backlash? Maria took a deep breath, ready to face whatever was to come. As the sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow on the day, Maria held Lily's hand tightly as they walked towards the community center. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, filled with excitement and an undercurrent of dread. "Look at all the people!" Lily exclaimed, pointing at neighbors milling about, their laughter merging with the distant strains of music wafting from the hall. Maria's heart raced. This was it, they were doing it. Upon entering, Maria was greeted by the sight of vibrant decorations, banners, streamers, and kids bouncing around, their laughter echoing off the walls. There was a small stage at the front, already occupied by the band, strumming familiar chords that pulled at the heartstrings of everyone there. "Mom, can I go and dance?" Lily tugged at Maria's shirt with pleading eyes. "Of course, go have fun." Maria beamed, watching as her daughter twirled into the crowd, a whirlwind of joy. It was a bittersweet sight, Lily, freely expressing herself, while Maria's heart tugged with anxiety. She stepped aside for a moment to gather her thoughts when Joe walked in, his brow furrowed. Their eyes met, and for a brief second, the noise around them dulled. "I'm glad you're here," he said, glancing towards the stage. "Can we talk now?" she whispered, feeling the chaos enveloping her. "Yeah, I think it's important." There was urgency in his tone, and Maria's stomach knotted tighter. "Okay," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. They ducked into a quieter corner, away from the laughter and music. "Listen, Maria, I didn't want to worry you, but I got a phone call this morning from the association," he began, running a hand through his hair. "There are some objections about tonight. They're concerned about the noise and the gathering." Maria's heart sank. "Are they going to shut us down?" Panic laced each word. "No, but they want to discuss the details first. They say we need proper permits and approvals." "They think, what do they think, Joe?" Maria interrupted, her voice rising. "That we can't have a community gathering? Just because of a few voices like ours?" "Exactly. They know how we all feel, and they don't want anyone stirring issues," he explained with a heavy sigh. "But what if this gathering reveals we aren't just whispers? What if it shows them our community can stand together?" Before Maria could respond, a soft voice interrupted them. "Mom? Can you come and see?" Lily appeared, pulling at Maria's heart with her wide-eyed wonder. "What is it, sweetheart?" Maria turned away from Joe, all her worries momentarily forgotten as she knelt to Lily's level. "Come see. Everyone is dancing, and they want to hear your speech." "Speech?" Maria felt heat flush her cheeks. "I didn't prepare anything." Lily took her hand, a grin lighting up her face. "You're the best mom, and you can do it. For all of us here." In that moment, Maria's worries faded, replaced by a surge of determination. Maybe this gathering was more than just noise, it could be a chance to break barriers that kept their voices unheard. Taking a deep breath, she looked at Joe, who offered a nod of encouragement. "You can do this," he said quietly. Maria stood tall, heart pounding, but less from fear now and more from the thrill of possibility. She turned back to her daughter and asked, "Ready to rock this crowd?" Lily jumped up and down, her excitement contagious. Hand in hand, they made their way to the stage, rallying behind one another. As the crowd grew silent, Maria felt the weight of their gazes, some skeptical, some hopeful. She squeezed Lily's small hand for strength. "Today is about us, our voices and our stories," she began, her voice ringing out loud and clear. But just as she found her rhythm, a harsh cough broke through the crowd, a familiar face pushing through a face that could either uplift or tear down their moment. What could Mrs. Anderson possibly want now? Would she help their cause, or would this be another hurdle in their journey? Maria's heart raced, torn between the excitement of the moment and the looming shadow of challenge. As Mrs. Anderson stepped forward, the crowd murmured, uncertainty rippling through the audience like a wave. Maria's heart sank further, tension coiling tightly in her chest. The community leader was known for her no-nonsense attitude, often rigid in her ways. In this moment of vulnerability, Maria felt the wind knocked out of her. "Mrs. Anderson," Maria stammered, trying to maintain her composure. "We were just gathering, yes." Mrs. Anderson cut her off, her voice loud and clear. "I see you've decided to take matters into your own hands, Maria. Planning a rally without consulting the right people? That's bold. Or perhaps naive." Maria's stomach twisted. Every eye was on them, and she could almost hear the weight of their thoughts. But she clenched Lily's hand tighter. "We just want to come together," Maria said, finding the resolve buried deep within her. "This community is stronger together, and tonight is about celebrating our voices." "Celebrating?" Mrs. Anderson scoffed. "That's rich. You think one night of dancing and music will change anything? You'll only bring trouble." At this, Lily pulled at Maria's shirt, her little face twisted in concern. "But we want to be heard. We're not just whispers, right, Mom?" Her innocent confidence sparked something within Maria. Maria felt the heat rising in her cheeks. She's right. We're not just whispers. We need to stand up for ourselves and what we believe in. The crowd was silent, some cheeks flushing with renewed spirit. Mrs. Anderson's expression softened for a breath, a flicker of recognition crossing her features. "You really believe that, don't you?" she replied, almost in disbelief. "More than ever," Maria declared. "This is about our stories. Every single one of us deserves a chance to share." The tension seemed to thicken in the air, but Maria could feel the crowd shifting behind her, a sense of solidarity rising amongst them. Mrs. Anderson stepped closer, studying Maria and Lily, uncertainty etched on her face. Moments ticked by, the rhythm of the band fading into the background. Maria's heart pounded violently as she waited for a reaction, any reaction. Would Mrs. Anderson squash their hopes, or would she come to understand the community's need? "Well," she finally said, a practiced calm returning to her voice. If you want to be heard, you better ensure it's not just noise. With that, a subtle challenge laced her tone. You need a plan, and proper guides to support you. If you think you're ready to have your voices heard, prove it. Ignoring the sinking feeling in her stomach, Maria looked at Lily's eager face and the surrounding villagers who leaned in with anticipation. Then we will, Maria said, her voice steady. We will prove it because we believe in each other. This gathering isn't just noise, it's the beginning. Lily cheered, raising her arms, and a ripple of applause began. Others joined in, some overcome with laughter, some with tears. It felt like the room danced, not just with music, but with possibility. Mrs. Anderson's lips curled slightly at the edges. All right, I'll help you craft a plan. But you'll have to do the genuine work, and there'd better be evidence of commitment. Thank you. Lily squealed, jumping back in excitement, and Maria smiled as relief washed over her. But before Maria could respond further, the room buzzed with movement, a flurry of ideas being shared. Conversations erupted around her, alliances forming in the joyous aftermath of their small victory. However, just as Maria began to envision the path ahead, a nagging feeling emerged. This was just the first step. To show their true capabilities, there would be challenges ahead, ones that would test their resolve and unity. She narrowed her eyes towards the crowd, their faces lighting up with hope, blending with the growing excitement around them. What awaited them next? Would they embrace this chance to make their message clear, or would they stumble under greater challenges? In that moment, she felt the fire ignite within her again, a soft whisper in her heart reminding her that their journey had only just begun and whatever came next would demand all they had. But would the community truly stand united when it counted most? Would they be brave enough to face the obstacles ahead? The energy in the room surged as the crowd began to share their ideas, buzzing like a swarm of bees. Maria could hardly keep up with the flow of voices bouncing off the walls. Ideas flashed around her: community art projects, open mic nights, and pamphlets to reach out to those who might not understand the rally's purpose. Maria felt a sense of exhilaration. They were all starting to believe in something bigger than themselves. As the hours passed, she found herself at the center of it all, voice clear and words full of passion. It was empowering to see Lily's bright eyes watching her mother speak with such conviction. The weight of their earlier fear faded like the night's shadows. Let us create a committee, Maria suggested, and the idea was met with enthusiastic nods. We need representatives from every corner of our community. Together, we can make this plan resonate. Mrs. Anderson stood at the back, listening. Maria caught her eye for a moment. There was something shifting in the older woman's expression, a tentative admiration that Maria hadn't expected. It softened her resolve even more. They weren't just there to rally, they were crafting a vision that might finally bring change. However, just as the excitement reached its peak, a familiar face from the crowd stepped forward: Kevin Morgan, known for his brash opinions and fiery rhetoric. What if this is just another waste of time? He challenged, his voice cutting through the joyful chatter like a chill. Maria's heart raced. It's not. We're creating something different. We're talking about our lives, our families. We can no longer let those in power speak for us. Her determination filled the air, but doubt crept in. Would Kevin's negativity bring them down? Kevin crossed his arms, studying her. What's the plan once you've gathered? What's your end goal? Maria hesitated, unsure how to respond. The end goal felt hazy, still forming, but she couldn't let that stop them. We want community representation. We want our needs met. But what happens if no one listens? He pressed, an eyebrow raised. Tension lingered in the air, and Maria felt a sharp pang of fear. Was Kevin right? Then we'll shout louder. Lily interjected boldly, her tiny voice cutting through the noise. She looked up at her mother, eyes wide with trust. We won't give up. We will make our voices heard. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause, Kevin's hardened face momentarily softening. Maria felt a swell of hope. Perhaps this was the kind of unity they needed, one that embraced every voice, even dissent, but doubt lingered like a specter. Did they have what it took to sustain this momentum? What would happen when they faced real opposition? As the meeting pressed on, ideas continued to spill forth, a rousing blend of passion and hope. But in Maria's mind, the weight of uncertainty remained. She caught Mrs. Anderson observing, her brows furrowed but her demeanor open. It was like watching a wall slowly begin to crumble. Suddenly, the sound of a loud crash echoed from outside, rolling through the air like thunder. Eyes darted to the doorway, fear creeping back in. What now? A commotion surged beyond the walls, an undeniable urgency filled the room. Someone rushed in, breathless and wide-eyed. "You need to see this. It's happening right now." Time stood still for a heartbeat as Maria exchanged glances with Lily and the rest of the crowd. What awaited them outside? "Let us go," Maria said, her voice a rallying cry, even as the knot of anxious anticipation twisted in her stomach. They surged toward the exit together, stepping into the night, hearts pounding, as a new challenge awaited them. Would this be the moment that truly transformed everything? Only time would tell. The cold night air hit them like a slap to the face as they stepped outside, and Maria's breath caught in her throat. The moon shone down like a spotlight, illuminating a scene she hadn't expected. On the corner of the street, a small crowd had gathered, their faces lit with excitement. A makeshift stage stood before them, with a lone speaker hovering over a microphone, addressing a throng of people who were jumping with zeal. "What is going on?" someone shouted from the back, and there was an undeniable buzz of anticipation. As they pushed through the crowd, Maria felt her heart race. What had sparked this gathering? Kevin had followed them outside and was now squinting against the light, trying to capture the situation. The man on the stage was moving his hands animatedly. "This is a call for change," he proclaimed, his voice rising above the noise. "We won't be silenced anymore. Our community matters. We matter." Maria exchanged glances with Lily, who squeezed her hand, her small fingers tightening with hope. The raw passion in the air ignited something deep within her. The man continued, rallying the crowd, urging them to stand together. "We're not just here to complain," he shouted. "We're here to act. Together, we can demand what's rightfully ours. Our schools need funding. Our parks need maintenance. We will not let anyone ignore us." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Maria felt herself swept up in the momentum. She stepped forward, Lily right beside her. The man on stage caught her eye, his expression shifting from fervor to recognition as he spotted her. "And we have leaders among us," he said, pointing at her. "People like Maria, who are willing to fight for justice." Suddenly, the spotlight was on her. Maria's pulse quickened, fear threatened to creep back in, but she wouldn't let it take hold. She lifted her chin and stepped toward the microphone. "We need our voices to be heard. We are tired of waiting for change. Change starts with us." The crowd roared, encouragement washing over her like a wave. She saw Kevin's brows furrow, uncertainty flickering across his face. "Will you join us?" Maria shouted, her voice stronger now. "Let us meet and plan. We need every single one of you." But even with the heightened emotions, doubts lingered. How would they maintain this energy? A woman in the front stepped up, her expression fierce. "I'll bring my neighbors," she declared, shaking her phone. "We will mobilize every family we know. We'll host meetings. We'll make signs. We'll be the change." "What about the local businesses?" another man shouted. "They need to be involved too. They have a stake in this." Maria nodded, excitement bubbling within her. "Let us involve everyone. If we create a coalition, we'll be unstoppable." The crowd erupted again, a chorus of agreement lifting into the night sky. As Maria turned back toward Lily, her heart filled with overwhelming gratitude. This was what they needed, a community bursting with life, with shared dreams and aspirations. In the midst of the chaos, Mrs. Anderson emerged from the side, her eyes alight with determination. "Count me in," she said firmly. "Let us show this town what we're made of." But just when Maria thought momentum had settled, a loud crash interrupted their revelry from down the street. People gasped and turned towards the noise, tension rippling through the crowd once more. "What now?" Maria whispered to herself, uncertainty creeping in again. Was there more turmoil waiting to unravel, or could this be a turning point toward the changes they all craved? Lily squeezed her hand tighter, both of them feeling the electrifying pulse in the air. Whatever lay ahead, Maria knew they were ready to tackle it, not just as individuals, but as a powerful united front. "Let us figure this out together," she called out, drawing everyone's attention again. The weight of the moment pressed on, but they were prepared to face whatever came next. And just as the crowd began to settle, a figure appeared on the horizon, walking briskly toward them, fists clenched and resolve in their step. The mystery unfolding in the shadows promised another call to action. Who were they? What message did they carry? The figure moved closer, silhouetted against the bright moonlight. Maria's heart raced again, not knowing whether to feel fear or exhilaration. As the person stepped into the lamplight, the crowd collectively drew a breath. It was a woman, her expression fierce and determined, with wild curls framing her face and a determination that echoed in her every movement. Maria recognized her instantly. Jasmine, the owner of a local cleaning service and an advocate for underprivileged workers in their community. "Jasmine!" someone called out, breaking the tension that had enveloped the crowd. She stopped before the stage, her breathing heavy but her face illuminated with passion. "You'll want to listen to me," she shouted over the murmurs. "Things are about to get real." Maria felt a spark of recognition in Jasmine's words, a familiar fire igniting in her as well. This was someone who understood struggle and resilience. She'd witnessed it all firsthand. "Go ahead," the speaker on stage encouraged, stepping aside as if to welcome her words. Jasmine took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the crowd. "I've seen too many people here being taken advantage of." She gestured emphatically. "We work hard, day in and day out, and still struggle to make ends meet. Our voices matter. We can no longer sit silent." The crowd erupted again, tears glistening in some eyes, nodding heads scattered throughout. Maria felt a surge of hope and solidarity as she listened intently. Jasmine continued, each word slicing through the air like a rallying cry. "I believe we can make a difference. What if we pooled our resources? Created a community fund? Invested in our youth? We can lift each other up instead of waiting for someone to save us." Her voice rang with conviction. A cleaning lady, once overlooked, now stood at the forefront of a movement that had the potential to alter lives. Maria felt Lily beside her jump with excitement. "That's amazing," she whispered, her eyes shining. "This isn't just about us anymore," Jasmine pressed on, fists still clenched with energy. "Every family that struggles to buy groceries, every entrepreneur who can't find support. If we unite, we can advocate for better working conditions. We can demand resources, we can turn our community into a thriving place for everyone." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. People were rising in enthusiasm, fists pumping in the air. But just when the applause began to swell, a shadow fell over Jasmine. A man stepped forward from the fringes of the crowd, his face twisted with anger, a face Maria recognized from the local council meetings. It was Mr. Garrett, a figure known for his strong resistance to community initiatives. "You're dreaming if you think you can pull this off," he scoffed, his tone dripping with derision. "The town won't support you. The system is rigged, and it's not going to change." Chilled silence followed his words like a dark cloud. Maria felt the air thicken with doubt. Had this seizure of hope been in vain? Just then, Jasmine pivoted. With her chin held high, she met Mr. Garrett's gaze head-on. "We're done waiting for permission," she shouted defiantly. "The change starts here and now. If we don't fight for our rights, who will?" The crowd roared back, a wave of cheers that rippled through the air. Maria felt her spirit lifted within that collective voice. She was reminded that standing together made them stronger. They were capable of doing more than just talking. They could ignite change. And then the realization hit her: they were a family in this together. Not just friends and neighbors, but a community united. As excitement reverberated once more, Maria glanced back at Lily and Kevin. They were both beaming now, catching the contagious energy that surged through everyone. "Are you ready?" she asked, a grin spreading across her face as her resolve solidified. "Yes." They chimed in unison, overwhelmed by the electric promise of what lay ahead. But as the crowd began to gather around Jasmine and debate strategies, a sudden commotion erupted from the edge of the crowd. Another figure appeared, pushing through the throngs with urgency, a young girl, her face grim and breathless. What now? Maria wondered anxiously. What new developments awaited their budding revolution? Would they lose what they had just built? The tension clawed at her heart. The young girl made her way to the front, eyes wide and desperate. "You need to see this," she cried, catching her breath as she pointed toward the street. A knot of fear twisted in Maria's stomach. What could go wrong now? Jasmine turned, her expression shifting from fierce determination to concern. "What do you mean? What is happening?" The crowd quieted, straining to hear. "They're here. The owners of the building." The girl's voice trembled, urgency radiating from her every word. "They brought a group of workers to push us back. They want to stop the gathering." A palpable tension gripped Maria's heart. A cold sweat broke out across her forehead. Her breath quickened as she turned to Lily, who seemed oblivious to the growing chaos, still vibrating with the excitement of the moment. "Stay close, sweetheart." The electric energy that had fueled the crowd moments ago transformed into apprehension. It was a palpable shift as shadows of the wealthy couple loomed larger. Maria's heart racing, she mustered her courage. "Don't be afraid. We need to stand together," she shouted, her voice rising above the murmurs of worry. Jasmine stepped forward, eyes blazing with resolve. "We won't back down. This is our community." The crowd stirred, finding strength in her words. Maria felt it too, the warm swell of unity. The sound of footsteps echoed as a group approached, confidently striding towards them. The wealthy couple stood at the forefront, flanked by their well-dressed associates. They looked like giants among liabilities, drawn up in suits that seemed to inflict status rather than authority. "Enough of this," the woman sneered, her voice sharp. "You think waving placards and shouting together will change anything? Remember your place." The tension boiled over, but before the crowd could react, Maria stepped up, heart thrumming in her chest. "No. You don't get to dictate our worth or our voices." Her words caught like wildfire, igniting the crowd into a chorus of shouting and defiance. Across the street, Mrs. Anderson stood tall, placating her heels firmly. "We see you," she called out, rising against the tide of intimidation. "We are not going back into silence." The crowd erupted again, voices echoing off one another. As they stood resolute, side by side, Maria blinked away tears, feeling the swell of passion surge through her. For Lily. For every worker lost in silence. We deserve to be heard. Our community matters. The crowd chanted in unison, creating a cacophony of determination. Those in the back began to step forward, emboldened by the brave souls standing tall. The feeling was lifting, a shared desire for acknowledgement that shook the very ground beneath them. The couple exchanged quick glances, uncertainty flickering across their faces. Maria sensed their retreat. This was their moment. Anyone who stands for change is welcome. Jasmine hollered above the roar, her voice cutting through the noise like a lighthouse in a storm. Together, we can bring our demands to the council. We can make them listen. Each word hit hard, crashing against the facade of power the wealthy clung to. As the support grew, Maria caught Lily's hand tighter. Every tremble of uncertainty in her heart melted away with the warmth of their shared unity. Hope erupted within her. This was the confirmation they needed. They were not alone. The rich couple stepped back, eyes widening as the power of the community surged forward. It was then that Maria felt that moment of realization. They were not mere threads tangled together, but a formidable tapestry of fierce love and courage. No longer voiceless shadows too frightened to step into the light. As the tension shifted, and cheers erupted, Maria stood at the front line, heart echoing with wild energy. This is our home. We will not be silenced. Jasmine smiled proudly at Maria while nearby, Mrs. Anderson nodded with unwavering belief. The community around them surged as one, their unity shaking the very foundations built on silence and fear. But it didn't stop there. The crowd formed a line, hand in hand, as Maria began to lead them. Glancing back at Lily. A spark ignited behind her daughter's eyes, a fiery declaration of hope and empowerment that would ripple through their lives. And as they marched forth, a wave of determination washed over. This was their moment. Each footstep resonated with a promise of change, a united front ready to face whatever spark of truth lay ahead. In that defining moment, Maria felt her world transform. Together, they could forge a path toward justice, hope, and unity like never before. And no one could take that away from them. It was time to fight for what they believed in and to reclaim the narrative as a community. They were ready. This was only the beginning. Now, as this inspiring chapter closes, it's time for you to take a stand too. You need to subscribe now to stay updated on these exclusive stories that will move your heart. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm. Your voice matters. Comment below with how this story made you feel and what actions you'll take in your own community. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us rally together and inspire change.